When you think of the skinwalker, you would think to yourself, someone who wears the skin, animal, human whatever. My story, however, does not entail about the skinwalker you think I am talking about. The skinwalker I am talking about is completely different, also known as a shapeshifter down here in the outback of Australia. They are known to shapeshift into coyotes, eagles, and other types of creatures. It is also known that if a skinwalker locks eyes with you, then it will take deer into your soul and shapeshift in a duplicate copy of that person, and without any warning will dose of that person too. The legend of the skinwalker is well known in this area, but no one knows exactly where they came from or what they look like. All we know is that they kinda look human but with super-like speed. They also seem to wear the skins of a coyote, using its head like the hood and mask, with the rest of the skin falling down the back of the shapeshifter. I was with my family when we decided that we wanted to go out on a family outing. However, we just didn't want a holiday where we would go overseas or to a seaside beach. No. What we wanted was to get out in the open in the wild outback and do some camping. Along with camping, we also wanted to do other activities such as climbing the nearby mountains and canoeing down the whitewater rapids at the nearby river. We all decided that we wanted to do this at the same time, however, we didn't have the equipment that we needed. We decided to go to the local outdoor shop and buy things such as tents, sleeping bags, torch, rope, etc. It was a nice visit to the outdoor shop with the family. We had to get help on deciding which is the best we could buy with our money. My father was a seasoned rock climber, so he knows what we needed, and we also had a canoe in the garage at home that we would take with us. As we were all eager to go on holiday, it was decided that we would go 2 days after we brought all the gear. That way, would check to make sure we had everything we needed. The next day we went and got some food and fluids for the trip. Those 2 days seems to go so fast. I woke up early, got dressed, had breakfast and started on getting the car ready with all the gear that we needed. We had a trailer for the canoes, but there were things all over it that we had to move. Also, the canoes were up in the attic of the garage. In the end, we got it all done and hitched. It must have taken about 2 hours to clear everything from around and on the canoe trailer. It is surprising on how much stuff you collect over the years. Anyone would agree with me about that if they cleaned or sorted through things. Once the garage was sorted and stuff now neatly packed around the sides, then there was enough space, to which we could then fetch the canoes down from the rafters without having to rotate them around like a Tetris game. I guess the thing with going on holiday, it can take hours if you are not that prepared for it. Lucky for us, we have all the things we need. However, it took longer because we didn't realize the state the garage was in. With a stressful morning now behind us and several hours later, we had just started to set off for the outback of the Australian plains. I estimate it was about a 3-hour drive to get to our destination. A fair bit of driving, but worth it in the end. We are now about an hour and a half into the drive, driving down what seems to be an old desert road with houses dotted here and there, with an occasional garage here and there. Then in the distance on the horizon, I spotted something which I could not explain. Whatever I saw, to this day, I cannot say what it is. It seems like it was a blur to me. All I can say about this thing, it ran as fast as the car, if not even faster. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Maybe I am tired, I thought. While watching this thing running parallel to the car, it seemed to have changed its shape. First it was running with 2 legs and really keeping up with the speed of the car, then it seems to morph while running, and then all of a sudden, it started to run on all 4s like some kind of new animal. I kept watching this creature, for what seemed like an hour, still keeping up with the car. One thing I know, whatever this thing is, had some great stamina to not only keep up with the car but also to keep running for nearly an hour straight. It then morphed again before it disappeared. This time, it seemed to morph into a large bird of some sort. Could not say what it could be, never seen anything like that before. The creature jumped into the air but never came back down. It grew wings, and then its body morphed into a very large bird. So, we had been on the road now for 2.5 hours. There was only half an hour left before we reached our destination. I didn't mention anything about this creature to anyone who was with me. Who would even believe, something that looked like a human, morphs into a four-legged creature, kept up with the speed of the car, then jumped into the air, morphed again into a bird and then flew away. A little shaken up, we were now at the campsite. I looked a little white. My parents asking if I am good. I'm awesome, I told them. I didn't was to spook them with what I had seen. They have been looking forward to this vacation for a long time. It had been so long since we had been on a family vacation. We pulled out the tents and set on putting them up. There was 3, all in all, 1 tent for our parents, 1 for the boys and then 1 for the girls. I guess we could all share 1 maybe 2 tents, then again we all need space of our own when sleeping. Now with the tents up, the canoes unpacked and on the ground, there was one thing more left to do, collect some rocks so that we could make a fire to keep warm. After all, it may be hot during the day but at night time, the temperature soon dropped and it can get really cold. My father asked me to go and look for some large rocks for the fire. I was hesitant at first with what I noticed earlier on the road, but I then realized on how cold it gets, so I just bit my tongue and looked around. Because the rocks we needed had to be pretty big to contain the fire and stop it spreading, I would have to bring the rocks back to the camp one by one, which did suck. But it was the only way. I had gotten half of the rocks needed for the campfire. I was on my way to pick another I had seen, when I heard rustle in the bush a few yards up from the rock. It took me by surprise. Looking around I could not see anything. Then I saw a shadow of what seems like some king of the huge creature. I didn't know what it was, nor did I want to find out. However, what I wanted, didn't happen that way. It made me jump out of my skin. But now, I laugh about it. You see, this creature came us from the bush. I just couldn't believe I was scared of it. It was a medium-sized lizard that came out. Fairly big but not life-threatening at all. The only thing that bugged me about that encounter, was how on earth could it cast such a huge shadow. Anyway, I collected the rock with the lizard watching me and headed back to the camp. Lucky it was the last rock I needed. Back at the camp and by the look on my face, my parents knew that there was something wrong, and when they asked me what is wrong, I told them all about the lizard and whatnot. They both laughed and I started to laugh with them too. The sun was not starting to set, it was getting colder and my parents decided to start a fire, so we could keep warm until we went to bed. I was still a little scared but I put that behind me and went about looking for twigs and logs to start that fire. It was now dusk and I spotted something again on the horizon. It seemed to be a familiar sight to what I had seen earlier. I was intrigued and had to watch for a bit. It seemed like in the distance, there was a coyote watching me. I kept my eye on it, to make sure that it didn't get any closer. Still gathering the logs I needed, I spotted that the creature seemed to follow me. I stopped what I was doing and watched the coyote. It then happened again. The creature stood on its hind legs, morphed again, then just ran away on 2 legs instead of 4. I went back to the campsite to which my parents were starting to preparing dinner. I ran up to them out of breath. They could tell something was wrong as my face was white as a ghost. "Whatever is the matter?" my mother asked me. I managed to calm myself down and take a few breaths, before telling them about what I had seen. I looked to my father and I know then, what I had seen was really bad. His face literally twisted in horror. He got up and quickly paced over to his truck, took out his keys and opened what looks like a locked box in the boot of the truck. Once he turned around, I then could see why. He had what looked like a semi-9mm pistol in his hands. He looked around at me and my mother and told us grab the kids and go into the tent. We both looked at each other now very concerned. I then went to get my brother and sister and hid in the tent with my mother while my dad scanned the perimeter of the campsite. Half an hour goes by and then all of a sudden, I hear the sound of 5 gunshots. It sounded like it must have been only a few yards from the campsite. Me and my mother was now really worried. Luckily enough, the kids didn't know anything of what is going off. About 10 minutes later, yet again we hear another 3 gunshots. We are now getting scared at whatever this creature could be. My father I am sure didn't have much ammo left. When then heard what seems to be footprints walking around our tents, we hold each other hard and wait for whatever destiny has in store for us. The tent starts moving and now our hearts are beating so fast. I can even feel my mother's heart beating from it. The zip on the front of the tent started to go down. I grab a bat that is near me, ready to take a swing at whatever is outside. I wait for the head to peer inside the tent to take a whack at it. I get ready to swing, when all of a sudden, my dad pops in the tent breathing very heavily. "Get your stuff and let's go," he said. I asked him what is going off, but he just said he could only wound it and that it will be back. We grabbed what we could from the campsite, leaving the tents, sleeping bags and whatnot behind us. We all got into the truck and just floored it out of there. I swear that on the way home, I could see some creature limping, trying to follow us. Lucky it was wounded and could not follow, as if it did, then I have no idea what would have happened to us.